Uh, what do I say? I had the hardest time coming up with something to say about this episode, and it was really bothering me. I finally figured out why it was bothering me that I was having such trouble coming up with something to say about it this week. And it's because for the first time since the very beginning of the season, this really feels like the first episode that is really moving forward. Like, it's specifically about the wedding and about Robin and Barney getting ready for the wedding. It should have been much more story and character driven and felt like there was some progression. But it was so boring. What should have... Now we're back to the focus. This should be when it's really starting to get good, and it's not. It's still not. The argument between Lily and Robin was so tenseless that it may as well just not even have existed at all. Same with Barney and the suit, which I guess was fine, and the suit up, that was funny. But I guess the perfect fit thing didn't work for me, because we've seen it before. We saw it with the tie thing that they did seasons ago. You know, when Ted comes in and Barney says, "Is this the right tie?" You know, and Ted says, "Oh yeah, that's the right tie." And the tie is a thinly veiled, metaphor for Robin, and that itself was a callback to something that even earlier from like season 2 or 3. And so when it was like, oh, this suit, now it's a perfect fit. We've seen it before. It didn't have that emotional weight. It wasn't a surprise. It wasn't anything new. So it didn't really. It was just kind of okay. That happened. Oh, we finally got a little bit more. We had the wedding bride too. That was something. Although Marshall, I don't know. I didn't find that funny. That's just me. What bothered me even more was that Robin's mother comes in at the end of the episode, and this, again, let's talk about wasted potential. This is what the whole episode could have been about. So much story potential there with Robin's mother coming in and her meeting the rest of the group, and Robin dealing with the fact that her mother is suddenly there on the day of the wedding, and Robin's mother dealing with the fact that her daughter is getting married. Because Robin's mother has virtually no presence in her life. There's been a lot of talk about her relationship with her dad, but this is the first time we've met her mom. This is the first time we've met her mother, and we have no idea who she is, what her relationship with her daughter is like. Obviously, it's not very close, and what's the worst part to me about that is that, based on the tease for next week's episode, she's just going to be there to make awkward, uncomfortable jokes, and I'm sick of that. I feel like that's all that we've gotten this season, is someone doing something that makes everybody else really uncomfortable, and then it gets resolved, nice and neat at the end of the episode, which, well, I think that has been the biggest problem this episode, is that none of the conflicts have had any kind of satisfying resolution. There have been the conflicts that get introduced within an episode and then wrapped up within that episode, or conflicts that drag on for weeks and then don't get a satisfying resolution. I feel like that is all we've gotten this season. I know this is probably going to sound really harsh, but I couldn't buy into the message at the very end that, oh, this is the last time we're all going to be together as a group, so let's just sit and watch a movie and enjoy the time that we have. It was a sweet message. I appreciate the idea. Not so crazy about the execution, just because, first of all, we've seen it before. It kind of happened when Marvin was born, and Marshall and Lily were like, this is our new life now. We don't have time for all the things that we used to do, and with Ted moving away, it's like, oh, it's the last time we'll ever be together. First of all, not only have you explored that in the past, and it hasn't happened, you're still friends, we know that you remain friends, just by virtue of the fact that this story is framed from a post-mortem perspective. It's flashbacks. we know that they stay together, and they stay friends, and they interact all the time because of the way that Ted has referred to them throughout the series, you know, calling them aunt or uncle to his kids, and talking about the way that his kids have interacted with them over the years. We know that they stay as close as they've always been. So it completely lacked tension. The only thing that made it sad for me was knowing that the show itself is coming to an end, and how sad that must be for the actors. But, you know, I saw on Twitter that each one of them announced when they had wrapped, you know, when their shooting was completely done, and it was sad, yeah, but it's like, for this kind of show, I don't want to have to go onto a meta plane in order to find some kind of substance and meaning. So that very, very little about this episode worked for me. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't memorable enough, and I know to some people that's even worse. Like, if something is so bad that it really irritates you, it'll at least stick with you. I can't imagine this episode will stick with me. The one thing about it I really did like was the Ted and the mother coming back to the bed and breakfast and reminiscing a little bit. Mostly because I wasn't expecting it. It was not really, you know, anything really out of the box, but it was just nice, you know, mixed it up a little bit with the way the mother helped Ted tell the story. Wasn't expecting it. It was nice. But what I really liked was at the very beginning when Ted and the mother realized that they know everything there is to know about each other. And that gets them so excited. Like, they're like, yeah, we're an old married couple. We did it now. High five. And that was just so sweet and charming. That was my favorite moment in the episode, but, you know, I hate to say, again, it fell a little flat for me because we haven't seen that. You know, as the audience, we haven't really seen the connection. We don't know how they got to that point of being, you know, an old married couple and knowing everything about each other. You know, the reason people flipped their lids over the first 5 minutes of Up was because it showed an entire life together in 5 minutes with no dialogue, just showing and not telling, and encapsulated just the ups and the downs and the joys and the pitfalls of just two people in love being together. And there's not much of a connection between Ted and the mother. We're told that she likes all the same things that he does, and that they see the world in a very similar way, which makes them compatible. And you know, the scenes that they've had together, there's been chemistry. Yeah, I can buy it. It just, I don't know. It's falling a little flat for me. I hate to make this complaint. I really, really do, because it sounds whiny. But it's not enough. And what I mean by that is not that there's not enough effort. I don't feel like the amount of storytelling that we're getting this season is proportional to the amount of filler. Because filler is fine. You know, I get the appeal of a nice, sweet filler episode, but there really hasn't been enough storytelling for my liking. If there's something that I'm missing, something really memorable or something that really got your attention, please let me know. Otherwise, I guess I will see you next time for the next week's episode. Take care.